Alrighty, web. This is Josh Rubin from East West Healing Performance, and today I want to talk about rhabdo or rhabdomyolysis and CrossFit. Now, I'm not here to say I don't want to sit here and talk about CrossFit. That's not the point. Of course, I'm relating rhabdo and what it is to CrossFit because, of course, CrossFit gets a bad name because of people getting rhabdo. I do want to preface this YouTube with this. First of all, I'm going to refer to a lot of my notes. There's a lot that I want to go over. If I miss anything, you can definitely go to our website and check out the blog that we did on rhabdomyolysis to read about it more. Check below in the description. I'll have some links correlating to cellular respiration and other YouTubes that I've done that will help maybe connect the dots. As well as go to the blog because of some research that I'll be referring to showing how hypothyroidism is actually one of the causes of rhabdomyolysis. At the same time, we have to really look at this and really look at and analyze why does CrossFit get such a bad rap? I mean, we could look at so many different things. We could, and these are people experiences that I've had. We could talk about chiropractic medicine. I know chiropractors that have gotten taken to court and lost their license because they've actually severely injured someone on their table. I taught around the world for 8 years, and I know of many practitioners through their exercise programming and description have actually caused disc pathologies on clients. The list goes on. Every sport causes an injury. Triathletes, there's tons of injury, tons of dehydration, tons of adrenal fatigue, tons of diseases that can be caused from the sport. Many other sports. We could go on and on and on. Of course, CrossFit gets a bad rap. But if you look at the incidences of rhabdo in CrossFit, it's actually quite small. Now, of course, I have to say this. Do I think personally that CrossFit is for everyone? I don't. Yes, you can scale down, etc., etc. The density of it, the volume of it, I don't think it's for everyone. I think people have to have a base of exercise personally before they get to that level of doing CrossFit. And of course, it depends on the box. It depends on the programming. If the people that understand the box, if they understand programming and what they're actually giving to their clients and the population that they have. So there's many variables that go into it. It goes into the coaches. Are the coaches that are actually coaching that session that you're in, do they know what to look for? Do they know what to educate you on? You know, and at the same time, we could talk about all these reasons and excuses, but it really comes down to you. You know, if you don't really feel like you should be doing it, if you really feel that you're not in a good state of health, if you really don't feel good, it's probably not something that aligns where you are right now in the healing process. So maybe you have to pick other forms of exercise or other forms of meditation or other forms of mobility or something else that's going to align with where you are, help you grow so you can get to that point. So the bottom line is it's really up to you to take responsibility for yourself and decide, is this right for me at this time? Because the bottom line is if you decide to do it, no one makes you do it, you decide to do it and you do get rhabdo, personally, there's a small percentage that we can say the box is accountable for, and a large percentage is you because you didn't take a step up to create awareness around how you feel, and you didn't tell anyone that really you feel like shit, and you really shouldn't be doing this right now. So there's a lot going on that we have to analyze. The bottom line is this. I don't want to go into all of that. I want to talk about rhabdo because what I feel, based on my understanding, now of course there's many causes, but my understanding is that, based on my research and studying these different people, that most people that are in a severely hypomedic or truly hypothyroid state, that is the deciding factor whether or not they're going to get rhabdo. Now, of course, that doesn't mean if you have hypothyroidism, if you do CrossFit, you're going to get rhabdo. Once again, it comes down to hydration, it comes down to how you eat, your foods, your food frequency, the calories you took into that day. It comes into what other factors come into play. Is the programming for that day? Did you push yourself? Did you listen to your body and cut back and scale down, etc., etc.? There's other variables. But according to my research, hypothyroidism is actually one of the causes of rhabdomyolysis. We have to really analyze that before we start blaming the finger at CrossFit. Now, if we look at muscle breakdown, like I said, I'm going to refer to my notes a lot because there's a lot that I want to go over, and you can refer to our blog. Once the blog's up, I'll put the blog in the description below so you can actually go to our website, or just go to our website at eastwesthealing.com and you can check out the blog. It's that simple. So muscles pretty much go through a constant process of breakdown, which is catabolism, and rebuilding, which is anabolism, or being in an anabolic state, of course. Under the influence of intense exercise, because CrossFit, there's a lot of volume, there's a lot of density to it, and there's a lot of intensity, because most people typically when they're snatching and clean and jerking, they're doing 1 to 3 reps, most Olympic lifters. But in CrossFit, you're doing sometimes 10, 20, 30, or 90 in a workout with less weight. So the volume and intensity is actually quite high. So under the influence of intense exercise, muscle fibers undergo trauma in which there's a disruption in muscle cells, organelles. So we're actually breaking down when we're working out. Working out is actually not an anabolic process. And this is why, and I don't want to go into it because you can refer to my other YouTubes below, that nutrition is such a key. Now, of course, refer to the blog for this, but personally, I feel that another reason why people get Rhabdo and CrossFit is because of their nutrition. Because they're eating paleo, because they don't eat enough, because their food frequencies are poor, they're not getting enough calories, and they're not getting enough carbohydrates, which regulate cell energy production and the production of thyroid hormone, which I've gone over 1,000,001 times. And I'm not going to sit here and do it again because I feel like a parrot. And I feel like it's Groundhog Day. I'm just going to repeat myself. But I feel like that is a huge influence on people getting rhabdo. The way people are eating, they're not eating enough, and they're not supplying their body with enough energy to match the demands they're actually placing on their body. So our body's breaking down, yada, 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 you know, etc., etc. We have to regenerate. Now, in the end, there's many factors that cause regeneration. You know, can we downregulate cortisol? Can we downregulate adrenaline? Are we taking in the necessary amounts of proteins in relation to carbs and fats, and the necessary carbs in relation to proteins and fats, etc., to actually heal? Are we taking time off? Are we taking full rest days, not active rest days, etc., etc.? Now, insulin itself stimulates regeneration by enhancing protein synthesis and facilitating the entry of glucose in the cells. Satellite cells use glucose as fuel, thus enabling their growth activities. Glucose is also used for intramuscular energy needs, as well as the production of T3 and conversion in the liver, as well as in the cell to produce energy, CO2, ATP, and water. And this is huge. Now, according to John Ivey, PhD, in his book, Nutrient Timing and Exercise, which there's a lot I love about it, and some parts I could just toss, but there's some good parts, and I'll kind of read them to you, going with that insulin part. An excellent example of nutrient activation is the addition of a high glycemic sugar to protein. Studies have shown that high glycemic carbohydrate to protein supplement ratios can dramatically enhance protein synthesis, regeneration. In fact, in one study, a high glycemic carbohydrate to protein drink was 38% more effective in stimulating protein synthesis than a conventional protein shake. So basically that ratio of carb to protein and the right types of carbs to protein increase protein synthesis, like I just talked about. Consuming high glycemic carbohydrates following exercise stimulates insulin. Whoa! One of the most importantly regulators of protein synthesis following exercise. When insulin is stimulated in the presence of protein, not just protein, the result is greater synthesis of a new protein, regeneration, an anabolic state. Who would have thunk? In other words, carbohydrates prime the protein pump by first stimulating insulin. Super important. In quoting him, and use this term loosely, we're talking about the right types of carbohydrates like fruit, tropical fruits or vegetables, root vegetables, not just spinach, you know, or these carbohydrates that are high in unsaturated fats and high in cellulose, we can't even break down, are mostly water, and really supply our body with almost next to nothing in carbohydrates. Sugar is more effective than protein in preventing protein degradation in the muscle. I'll let you stir on that for a little bit. Of course, there's a lot behind it. I'm not going to go into it, but if you think about it and understand cellular physiology, it makes a lot of sense. Cortisol is the enemy of strength athletes because it breaks down muscle protein. And this is what most people are in because they're not meeting their metabolic demands with food. And if you don't, the body says, well, I need glycogen to produce energy. But this person doesn't eat enough food during the day. Their food frequency is off. I'm not storing glycogen. But I'm going to try to release it from the stored muscles and liver because they're not meeting our needs. And I'm doing CrossFit, let's say. I'm not picking on CrossFit. Could be any intense exercise. So I'm going to try to mobilize glycogen by releasing adrenaline, which raises your temperature, which can easily put you in a hypothyroid state if you end up in this state, in a chronic state for long periods of time, leading to cold hands and feet, low body temperature, swelling, fatigue, etc. So we're not mobilizing glycogen, so adrenaline says, well, I need help. So I'm going to release cortisol, because cortisol is a glucocorticoid. It's designed to be released to increase blood sugar, to regulate blood sugar, along with glucagon. So what does it do? It actually breaks down your body and your tissues. So you're actually producing energy inefficiently because you're breaking your body down, which leads to a catabolic state, hypometabolic state, and in chronic form will lead to hypothyroidism and many other diseases. However, its release is a normal part of the body's response to the stress of exercise. Of course it's released. We need it to regulate blood sugar, blood pressure, and fight inflammation, but we should be able to modulate that with the proper nutrition so when we're done, we actually bounce back. And you know this because after you work out, 30 minutes after, take your body temperature and pulse. If your body temperature is normal, it's going to be because you've actually raised your heart rate. But if your pulse is above 85 beats per minute, you're in a hyperadrenaline, hypercortisol state. That tells you that nutritionally you didn't meet your metabolic demands, and that form of exercise might not be the right type for you at this point in your healing phase. By consuming carbohydrates during exercise, you can reduce the cortisol response and thereby lessen protein breakdown. Consumption of a high glycemic sugar increases blood insulin levels, as I talked about, and it's important post-exercise. Among its many effects, insulin prevents protein degradation. Thus, by increasing insulin levels post-exercise in the presence of another essential nutrient, such as protein with that glycemic carb, tropical fruits are the best. Tropical fruits are the best. Tropical fruits are the best with your protein. I typically make a smoothie with gelatin from Great Lakes Gelatin. You can turn off the muscle's catabolic switch and turn on its anabolic one, moving your way away from, we could say, rhabdomyolysis. Now, I used to, in the healing phase, use a protein carbohydrate shake during exercise. But once you really start to get enough calories during the day, you regulate your food frequencies, you're storing glycogen, you should not need that. You should be able to eat something an hour before exercise and have something post-exercise and be able to regulate cellular physiology. Now, what is rhabdomyolysis, or rhabdo for short? Because it's cool if we say rhabdo. Rhabdomyolysis, or rhabdo, is identified as a rapid breakdown of skeletal muscle tissue resulting in the leakage of myoglobin into the urine. Myoglobinuria. And elevated levels of creatine kinase, CK. The severity of the symptoms can be asymptomatic to very symptomatic. You get elevations of serum muscle enzymes to life-threatening disease, of course, associated with extreme elevations in enzymes, electrolyte imbalances, and of course acute injury. So it can be nausea, vomiting, confusion, coma, abnormal heart rate, or dark-colored, like a tea-colored urine. That's the myoglobin. Now, of course, if you're experiencing any of this, don't call your CrossFit coach. Go to the emergency room. Go to your doctor. Get treated for this because it can be treated quite easily if it's caught. The bottom line is, if we start eating the right foods, we listen to our body, we're eating in the right frequencies, we're getting enough calories, we're taking our body temperature and pulse, we're creating awareness, and we're saying, maybe I should be doing CrossFit, maybe I shouldn't be doing CrossFit, maybe I should only do it twice a week, maybe I just need to look at my nutrition post-exercise. We can easily prevent all these things from happening. It's that easy. It's that easy. It's that easy. Now, what causes rhabdomyolysis? Now, of course, any form, and this is based on what I found through research, any form of muscle damage of sufficient severity can cause rhabdo. It's not just CrossFit. There's many other forms of exercise and just people that get rhabdo and they don't even do CrossFit. So any type of extreme exercise exertion, like CrossFit, triathletes, etc., can get rhabdo. Any type of metabolic syndrome, like hypoglycemia, being in a hypoglycemic state. So these are all the causes of rhabdo. Being in a hyperosmolar state, retaining water and losing sodium. That's actually the hallmark sign of hypothyroidism. Hyponatremia, another hallmark sign of hypothyroidism, which is you're actually losing sodium. Hypokalemia, a loss of potassium. Low body temperature, hallmark sign of hypothyroidism. Study the work of Rhoda Barnes. And drugs such as statins, cholesterol-lowering drugs, and SSRIs for depression have been shown to cause rhabdomyolysis. And we're pointing at CrossFit. And if you think about it, we think about cholesterol. High cholesterol, according to Rhoda Barnes, is actually a marker for hypothyroidism because your cells use cholesterol to produce your steroidal hormones. You need T3 for that conversion of energy production. Anytime there's a stress in the body, cholesterol is very important because it's the largest antioxidant in the body. Done YouTubes on it, don't want to talk about it again. The bottom line is this. There's a stress, cholesterol goes up to help your body adapt to the stressors. If that conversion factor is not there, which is T3 in the cell, which you actually convert from sugar in the liver, 90% is converted in the liver, what happens? Cholesterol keeps going up and up and up and up and up and up, and it doesn't get converted. So high cholesterol is a marker for hypothyroidism. You give someone a statin, it can lead to rhabdomyolysis. And I'll kind of touch upon that. Now, what's the link between rhabdo and hypothyroidism? There's a lot. Now, quoting Ray Peat, when hypothyroidism is severe, it can cause myopathy, in which the pain-swollen condition involves leakage of the muscle proteins, especially myoglobin, into the bloodstream. The combination of hypothyroidism with fatigue and any type of stress can lead to the breakdown and death of cells, which is rhabdomyolysis. Now, under normal conditions, our cells use sugar to produce energy. It's our main source of energy production when we need to produce energy, which is ATP, CO2, and water. With any excitation, whatever it may be, I've gone over this. You can refer to my YouTubes below on cellular respiration and things like that. Our cells take up water. They get swollen. They lose sodium. They take up calcium. They take up estrogen, which actually makes them very alkalinic, not acidic. Now they're producing lactic acid, so outside the cell they become very acidic, but inside the cell they're actually alkalinic. So cancer cells are actually alkalinic, not acidic. Just wanted to throw that in there. So this alkalizes the cell, increases the cell's affinity for water, thus increasing the glycolytic conversion of glucose to lactic acid instead of energy. What does this do? It slows your metabolic rate, it decreases body temperature. Estrogen plays a role in that because estrogen wastes body heat and it decreases body production. This is why people, women, when they go through PMS or menopause, whatever it may be, they get cold in hands and feet and things like that. It leads to a hypometabolic state, hypoglycemic state, and calcification of mitochondria, which perpetuates everything I just talked about. Thus, entering into an exercise program that does not match the metabolic needs will stimulate the process of rhabdomyolysis. Now, carbon dioxide and energy is the driving force behind energy production and sodium in the body. The constant formation of carbon dioxide, which is energy, drives salt excretion, but inhibiting its formation prevents its excretion. Since cellular respiration is driven by the thyroid, the liver is dependent on selenium glucose to produce thyroid hormone for its conversion for energy production. And CO2's main source of production is thyroid hormone. We can conclude that any thyroid deficiency will impair our ability to regulate water and sodium, which leads to that hyponatremic and hyperosmolar state, which is one of the causes of rhabdo. Now, according to Ray Peat, hypothyroidism is associated with increased prolactin. Thus, these people retain water while losing salt rapidly. Hyponatremia. Hypothyroid people also fatigue easily, taking up more water than normal during exertion. According to Western medicine, a symptom of rhabdo is swelling of damaged muscle, tissue, and hyponatremia. Makes sense to me. Does it make sense to you? As I mentioned, according to Broder Barnes, high cholesterol is actually a marker of hypothyroidism. Our cells are using cholesterol, as I mentioned, to make all our steroidal hormones to fight inflammation, regulate blood pressure, regulate, etc., help us produce energy. Cholesterol is one of our largest antioxidants in the body to help us pretty much modulate stress. Now, it so happens, as I mentioned, our cells can use cholesterol for the purpose of adaptation to what we're doing. But if we don't have enough thyroid hormone to produce carbon dioxide, and we're under constant stress, our cholesterol levels will keep going up and up and up and up. What happens? You go to the doctor, you need cholesterol-lowering meds. It was shown by Barker et al. In 2003, blood lipid-lowering drugs like statins to lower cholesterol, which is a marker for hypothyroidism, so they're using them incorrectly, impairs mitochondrial respiration, which is the use of what I just talked about, oxygen and glucose and T3 efficiently to produce energy, and increases the incidence of rhabdo. I'll read that again. Blood lipid-lowering drugs impair mitochondrial respiration and increase the incidence of rhabdomyolysis. So we could say that people with hypothyroidism, people with high cholesterol, people with statins, when they do CrossFit, maybe shouldn't be doing CrossFit, and should tend to the needs of their body and heal their body a little bit before they do CrossFit. Or at least back off a little and not do it 5 days a week. Now, there's other research, and I'll kind of quote it. It was research from the Journal of Endocrinology in 2002 by Barona, Mari, and many others. And these people state, in short, that after thyroxine replacement, musculoskeletal symptoms disappeared and creatine kinase concentrations decreased. Hypothyroidism is a cause of rhabdomyolysis. Boom. I'll read another one. Sorry. This was from... I can't pronounce their names. Atley et al. From the Journal of Nephrology and Dialysis Transplantation. Rhabdomyolysis due to hypothyroidism. As a result of the research, hypothyroidism must be considered in patients presenting with acute renal failure and elevated muscle enzymes, etc. The present case describes a patient suffering from rhabdomyolysis due to hypothyroidism. So you can read through that research. I'll put this here as well as in the blog. And there's many other cases showing or dealing with people that have rhabdo and hypothyroidism and how the addition of thyroid treatment actually regulated it. Now, I'm not saying do thyroid hormone treatment. I'm saying use food to regulate this. Now, what do you do? There's many things that you can do. And if you want to learn more, go to our blog. You can learn some of the things you need to do to regulate this. But based on my research, and I hope it makes sense, and of course, this is a short YouTube, and there's so much more to it, but hopefully you can see the connections between our cells' energy production, thyroid hormone, hypothyroidism, rhabdomyolysis, and at the state that I'm in, should I be doing this form of exercise, which is vibrating way up here, but I'm vibrating way down here right now. Maybe I should do something else nutritionally to build myself up before I enter in this form of exercise. And if I do choose it, I need to really pay attention to what I'm taking in. Am I taking enough in? Am I taking the right foods in? And do I have any type of feedback mechanism like body temperature and pulse to see if what I'm doing is actually benefiting me? So what I'm saying is this. Don't blame CrossFit. I think it's a great form of exercise for the right people. You can blame it all you want. There's many forms of exercise out there that cause disease, that cause injury, that cause rhabdo. And it really comes down to taking responsibility for yourself and blaming no one but yourself if you get sick. I'm out of here.